This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri, your boy on Pulse 95. Welcome to the Halftime Show today. Guys, I can't wait to share the show with you today because on the show we talk more than just about sports. We talk about physical health, we talk about gut health, and today we're focusing on mental health. And who better than Ally Salama, all the way from Canada, joining us here. That's right, here on Pulse 95 on the Halftime Show. I can't wait to share with you what we're going to be talking about. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in on the Instagram Live at Omar Al-Duri, live on YouTube, Pulse 95 Radio, cameras everywhere here. And also a couple of shout outs to Naeem, we've got Spicy, we've got Maria, we've got Terry, we've got Ish, we've got Raquel, we've got Nigel, we've got Ali, of course, in the building. We have Dabia, Amna, Ish, Anita, and everyone else, Alizé as well. How can I forget you, Alizé, who's tuned in on the Halftime Show. Right, guys, go get yourself some water, get yourself some refreshments, get yourselves ready, because coming up next, Ally Salama's on the Halftime Show, on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, Pulse95Radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or even if you're chilling at home, watching us live on YouTube. Thank you very much for connecting with us today. It's this person on the show, right? I don't even know where to start with this guy. This guy is someone who is really making a difference out there, because a lot of the times we talk about physical power, but the mental power is so key. Ally Salama, mental health ambassador, is here on the show. Ali, welcome to the show.
Omar, thank you.
You get a little round of applause as well there. Ali, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, how's it been coming over to the UAE?
It's been different. I went to high school here, so coming back, doing something I didn't ever expect in my life, it feels very, very, very different, Omar.
Yeah. And we're not under the illusion, right, that in different places people are suffering from different things regarding COVID-19, etc. Now that we're approaching the end of 2020, moving forward, how do you see this panning out mentally?
Yeah, and it's something that, I think we need to think about. That I think we're more similar than we are different, right? I think if the pandemic taught us anything, it taught us that we all go through the same struggles, right? Like when you're reaching out to someone, talking to many youth around the world, even in Canada, we all want to be heard, we all want to be seen, and we all want to be loved. And I think that moving into 2021, the most important thing for me is realizing the importance of the support system, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that, and even when we were on our podcast, remember, that was one thing that you just kind of figured out.
Yeah.
You learned that through the pandemic, who's there and who's not. It's so important. I feel that when you're really trying to live the best quality of life for yourself, you really focus on your support system.
Absolutely. And many have lost a lot through this period. They've lost loved ones. Financially, it's been challenging, and they've been affected by it. How do we embrace what's happened? Because a lot of the time we're talking about the things that we've lost. How do we embrace what's happened in 2020?
I mean, that's a great question. I think that it's so important to, first of all, accept and fully feel what we're feeling, because you can't heal something, or you can't actually change something that you don't acknowledge, right? And I think it's so important, especially for us Arab men, to give ourselves the time and space to feel, to then overcome and then seek out the support that we need. But I think it's so important to take things into perspective as well, because only when we kind of really, really, really absorb everything do we have the know-how and the capability to take that next step. But I also feel it's very important to create space for ourselves and with others while we're taking that next step.
Absolutely. And you said something really interesting there, creating space. Now, how do you create headspace when it comes down to the mental side of the game?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. Creating headspace is all about self-care, right?
Yeah.
It's all about, and I'm not the person to tell you how to self-care. I think that's the most beautiful part of the entire phenomenon of taking care of yourself. It's about trying new things. It looks different for everybody else, but it's vital, because remember, that's how showing up, the way you show up in front of the world and for yourself, it starts really by creating that space in your head, because that inevitably determines the quality of your life.
Absolutely. And coming into 2021, what methods can we implement that maybe we haven't because we were so fogged up from 2019 and 2020?
That's, I think if anything we've learned during this past year is to pause.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think because we've been so anxious, and I'm talking here as a business or an entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur or a leader in the business field rather than a psychologist here.
Yeah.
It's so important that we realize when we're anxious, we don't make the right decisions. So moving into 2021, if we just embrace the fact that we can be still. Stillness is what I really am working on personally, and I encourage everyone to, because only then, when we're super anxious, do we actually give ourselves to create that headspace, but not only that, to actually make the best decisions moving forward.
Brilliant. Love that. Why is there, I'd love to ask you this question. Why is there this thing about being fearful of stillness? Everyone thinks everything has to be 100 miles an hour. Why is that?
I think the idea of success is so different, Omar. I think social media has led us, this hustle culture is dangerous because we idealize something that isn't true. Like you're an athlete, I'm an athlete. We both know, and in the book Reset, like we both know the importance of rest, right? And I think that we don't place that much importance on rest as much as we place importance on hustle, work. But you can't perform your best if you ain't resting at your best too. And active rest is all about that self-care component we were just talking about.
And I like the fact you said active rest, because you're still moving, but in a very still manner, and you're in a very composed way.
Absolutely.
Coming up next, we're talking to Ally Salama about mental fitness, one of my favorite topics. We're going to have some fun. Stay tuned for more on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back, and I'm in a chilled mood today because we've got everyone tuned in from all around the world, from Jamaica to Morocco to Tunisia. Thank you very much for locking in onto our Sharjah Broadcasting Authority Halftime Show, Pulse 95. I've set a little bit of Carl Thomas in the background. That's the kind of mood I'm in. And guys, I'm very excited because we've got, following the coverage of the Khurfa Khan film, we've got a competition in place for everyone here in the UAE. It's a 5-weekday show, obviously giveaway, that we're doing all across our shows. Cinema tickets to attend the Khurfa Khan film in Vox Cinemas. All you gotta do is tune in to the show, like you are now, and answer this question. But make sure you put your name, your email address, and the answer. Don't just give me the answer, because then I can't give anyone the prize. All right, we're giving tickets away. Who directed the historical film Khurfa Khan? Okay, I'll ask that again. Who directed the historical film Khurfa Khan? Send in text 4215 Ittasalat Urdu. Don't slide into my DMs. You've slid up into my DMs today with the questions. Text me on 4215 Ittasalat Urdu. Let me know what the answer is, and we'll announce it today. Okay? You heard that, Ara? You heard that, Sama? You guys happy with that? Yeah? Thanks. Okay. All right. So, thank you for keeping those questions. And Ally Salama's in the building. Let's give him a round of applause. Ally.
Omar.
Ally, we're having some fun in the studio. Now, one of the things I talk about in the studio a lot is mental fitness. Yeah. I speak about that a lot on the show. I'm very interested, especially with your background, with all the things you've accomplished and achieved, and still achieving some great things. How do we train our mental fitness?
Absolutely. So I think, if we think about fitness in general and mental fitness, I call it mental endurance, right? I think about it in a way because of course, of my athletic background. I think about it as aligning, all aspects of your life to your values, right? Because if you come to think about it, if you're a team that's losing 4-0 to an opponent and you make that comeback to win the game, then that team has chemistry versus a team that loses 8-0 from a 4-0 loss.
Right.
Now, what's the difference between those two teams? The chemistry between the players. So if you think about your body and you feel aligned from a biological standpoint, then you have to ask yourself, am I living according to my values? Am I exercising? Am I aligning in the way that I am? I always ask myself that because I feel that when you build mental fitness, this is how you get through the tough times, because you ask yourself those fundamental questions. And I feel that when you build that sense or level of endurance, you're able to have just a higher level of chemistry within yourself, and therefore mentally you just last longer and you get through. That's how I would build resilience in my point of view.
Right, and something you said there, which really got me thinking, is accountability. So a lot of the times people are very quick to point fingers and blame someone else, but as you pointed in a team-based scenario, taking that responsibility and accountability is a huge part of mental endurance, correct?
Absolutely.
What is it about accountability that resets our mindset when it comes to mental endurance?
I think as human beings, we feel most comfortable when we have control over something, right? And when you set yourself accountable, you're giving yourself that authority to be in control of your life or of that one aspect of your life. So in my point of view, like the way I keep myself accountable is through keeping a journal, and I walk with that journal everywhere. I even have it with me right now. It gives me that sense of security so that even if things go wrong, I'm able to keep myself accountable on the process and not the outcome, because that's what we can change, right?
Yes, absolutely. I like the fact you've got a journal. I like the fact you carry it around, because a lot of the times nowadays, everyone's on their phone, everyone's on their computer.
Yeah.
What makes you do the old school approach? Actually, show it to the camera here on the YouTube. Yeah, put that up there so we can see it.
Here it
is.
So
what makes you actually like write it down physically?
Look, again, I'm not a scientist, but something feels different when you write it with your hands, with your bare hands. It's like what Dwayne Johnson says, like, with those bare hands, I've done everything.
Yeah.
So you can do everything too. And
yeah.
In a sense, it makes me feel like I'm back to basics, because I feel that sometimes we get lost in all the fluff that's going on.
Yes.
And we just need to recenter ourselves.
And Anita's definitely loving that. She's giving us the round of applause and some quality emojis there. And shout out to Sati as well, who's tuned in. When we talk about training mental fitness, there's also something else, which is building resilience in the wake of adversity. And we're all facing different challenges at the moment. How do you build adversity?
So when we speak about like building resilience, I feel it's very, very, very important to understand that it's a mindset, right? Like, what is a resilient mindset? What is the difference between a resilient mindset versus a non-resilient mindset?
Yeah.
And I think it's about taking things into perspective, right? So for example, if you've lost your job, or if something really bad has happened during this time, what has it allowed you to do? Has it allowed you to connect more with your loved ones? Has it allowed you to rekindle that relationship with your significant other because now you've had space in your life? And just seeing that different perspective allows you to just have that mental endurance to last longer during this tough time, because that's what you need to fuel yourself to get back into this machine, into this outcome producing machine. So into this, I think, into becoming goal driven and that. So that's how I would sort of see resilience, more of a mindset rather than an outcome or an end goal that you achieve. It's a work in process, and you can lose it and you can gain it. And I'm sure you've been there. I've been there too. I've lost my resilience at one point, and then I've gained it back, and it's a work in progress.
But I like also you said you can lose it and then regain it, because a lot of people after the loss, they feel it's a process to pick themselves up. But you said it's normal to be able to lose and regain as part of the actual journey.
Absolutely. And I think, why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I was clinically diagnosed with depression. And depression is the most illogical mental disease. Any physical disease you feel like you want to recover from. With mental disease, you don't want to recover from it. It's illogical. You want to stay there. That's why it's super hard. And that's why I said you lose resilience and you get it back again. And that's happened in my life, but there's always a way out. And
has that helped you in terms of like recording it down, being able to relive it, but also embrace it?
100%. And that's why I keep my journal. I think as human beings, we're very forgetful of our emotions. And I always, and this is something for all our listeners here, there's nothing more empowering in the world than seeing not just a picture of where you were at when you were going through a hard time, but reading your own words.
Yeah.
It's mind-bogglingly powerful.
Yeah. definitely to empower, and empathy always wins. I'm just saying, I'm just dropping it out there. Coming up next, we're talking about detoxing the mind from toxicity and negativity, and also a couple of key nuggets. You guys are asking some awesome questions. Keep them coming in on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Duri. Thank you very much for spending your hour with me and my wonderful guest, Ally Salama, who's in the building. Some great questions. Before we jump into those questions, and by the way, keep those questions coming up, man. There's some wicked questions there. We're giving away tickets, obviously, to Box. The Khud Fakan film is out. Can't wait for you guys to see it. The question I'm giving away, so we're giving away a couple of tickets today. The question I'm going to ask you today is, who's directed the historical film Khud Fakan? Now, I was told I can give a couple of clues, so I'm going to give you a couple of clues, all right? So the clues are, so firstly, it's not just one director. Can't say who. It's not just one, it's 2 directors. So there's one thing. It's also famous for directing this type of historical film. So that's all I'm going to give you for now. But it's not just one name, it's 2 names. So who directed the historical film of Khud Fakan? Text us on 4215 Ittasalat, or do let us know. Put your name, your email address, and the answer. Don't forget the answer. Don't just give me your name and your email address. Give me the answer as well. Okay, right. Now that we got that out the way, we've had some really, really good questions in, and I'm telling you, Ali's on fire today. So let's ask those questions. Terry asked, as a chronic overthinker, what are some things you would suggest to avoid going down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, thank you, Omar. That question almost hits home because I, during the time where I was seeking counseling and therapy, I had thoughts that I couldn't get rid of. So I believe by being a chronic overthinker, that's where we're hitting the nerve there. And I'd actually give just pretty much 2 pieces of advice. The first one being, if you have someone that you can totally be super vulnerable with and share things that, some things are just so private. And if you have that person, feel free to take that courage and share it with them. It gets easier off your chest when you let it out of your heart. That's one thing. The second thing, if you don't have that person in your life, you can always seek out professional help, and there's no shame in that. I've done it, and I know a lot of, pro athletes that have done it. There is no shame in that, and you need that psychological support to get over that step. So if that's something that's really sort of hindering your quality of your life, there is support for that, for sure.
And Shaymat from Tunisia, Shaymat's from Morocco. She asked, how can I stop overthinking and focusing on my inner goals?
Yeah, I mean, that's, wow. How can you stop? I don't think, maybe not like fully stopping, because your inner goals are definitely aligned with your purpose, but perhaps how can we be more balanced, if I can answer that question?
Yeah.
I think it's just by allocating time and by just setting boundaries in your life, I think that I'm a very workaholic type of person, but I'm also someone who preaches balance and harmony more so than balance, because I kind of find that very hard to balance. So set that boundary for yourself in terms of how much you're going to give time to work on those goals, and perhaps another part of your life, work on something that's bigger than yourself. Volunteer somewhere and force yourself out of that zone. And I think that for me was the biggest sort of deal breaker in making sure that I get that balance straight.
Because a lot of the times, Ali, we speak about like detoxing, and more than ever now, people, before it used to be more like detoxing for, the body.
Yeah.
Detoxing for the mind and trying to exclude the toxicity and negativity that's out there at the moment now. Yeah. Do you have any nuggets for people to be able to take away, like small things? I've seen you do it actually personally on your social media, because I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave you guys all his details on segment 4 on how to follow him. But how do you detoxify the mind?
I think that's again, a very difficult question, but to me, I usually do one thing, and that helps me out the most. In sports, we call it the pre-game routine, right? Before I treat every day as a big day. I say every day is a big day. And what I mean by that, you have to start every day in a manner that allows you to live that day very fulfilling. So as soon as I wake up, I have to have a routine that I feel comfortable and feel in flow at.
Yeah.
For some people, it may be meditating, praying, whatever that is for them. But find something that will put you in a state of no one will disturb you, and get into your state. Start proactively, and that gives you that sense of real flow in your day, and it makes you feel like you have control versus feeling that your mind is going crazy and you can't control it. Starting the day right equals having a good structure to your day. And in athletics as well, every player, before they start a game, they do something, and it's different for everybody. So don't listen to what the internet says about 10 tips to best start. Figure out your magic sauce, your secret sauce, and that's the best thing that I can sort of tell everybody.
I like that. And starting every day as a big day means that you don't carry on what happened from the previous day. Is that correct? Because Masoud asked, what is mental fluctuation? I think that's what mental fluctuation is. But how do people navigate through that to avoid it building up?
Yeah, and that's, a good friend of mine. She's a New York Times best-selling author. She's called Leanne Davey. She speaks about conflict debt in her book. And basically what that means, just as you accumulate debt in a bank, when you don't pay back what you have to pay back tomorrow, over a year, that same mistake or that same amount of money accumulates something huge. So it takes such a big toll on you. So what I would say is, for anything or any problem, or for anything that is deeply distressing you, try to tackle it like when it happens, because that's when it doesn't have that sort of intensifying emotion that can trickle day after day. If it's something that you need to have, if it's a conversation you need to have with someone, have it. But it just gets harder the more you prolong it, right?
Absolutely, man. I love it. I did tell you guys I was going to spoil you with this, brother, and it's definitely happening. That, guys, if you are just tuning in and miss any of our shows, remember you can catch our shows on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud if you like podcasts, or even if you prefer a visual, head over to our Pulse 95 Radio on YouTube and actually go onto the show with people like Ally Salama here, Yasmin Ahmed as well, inspired with Yaz Moves. We've had some really cool guests on the show, so check them out, smash a like, share with your friends. We talk about some really important things like mental health, gut health, and even physical health. Now, I am giving away some tickets, some box cinema tickets to the Khurfa Khan film. So make sure you text us on 4215 Ittasalat Wadu the answer to the following question. Who directed the historical film Khurfa Khan? Now, I did give you a clue. It's not just one director. Hassan, you message me your name, your email address, and your number. Hassan, I need the answer. You've got to give me the answer, Hassan. I want the answer. And because you're the first one to message today, let's try and get that answer in so we can put that with your email, your name, and your address, and we can actually try and gift you those tickets. Right, coming up next, guys, we're answering more of your questions on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time, man. We're having a good time here. Now, if you are tuned in on my Instagram at Omar Adori, you know that we entertain behind the scenes as well. It's not just on the radio that we keep you entertained. Ali, you do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And you travel the world, and you're an ambassador for mental health.
Yeah.
Before we go into this, there's a couple of things you do apart from talking about mental health.
Yeah.
Apparently, you're quite a talented singer.
Yeah, I love singing. I actually took singing classes, like professional, to get me through like the whole healing process. So it's like personal, you know. So
it's like music a form of escapism for you?
Yeah, it's therapy.
Okay, and what kind of music are we talking?
Anything like you're talking about R&B vocals. So I'm a tenor.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. And are you gonna drop a 30-second exclusive for us here on the
Sure.
Hey, listen, guys, this is the first time ever on the Halftime Show anyone sung. So let's give Ali a little bit of a woohoo. Let's get ready. Ali, 30 seconds, whatever you want.
This is Nicky Jam's Hasta el Amanecer. So it goes like, Como tú te llamas, yo no sé. De dónde llegaste, ni pregunté. Lo único que sé es que quiero con usted quedarme contigo hasta el amanecer. Como tú te llamas, yo no sé. Yeah, that's it.
Well done, Ali, man. That takes a lot to do that on radio. And is this the first time you've been on radio in the Middle East?
Yeah, and singing, and like I haven't been even touching a vocal note in like ages. So you got me there.
That's awesome. Hey, man, great job. Thank you very much for that. Guys, you know what? It takes a lot to do that, man. I know I definitely wouldn't do that on radio. And the fact that he had the courage to do that, and not only that, guys, the story behind that is that he used that as a form of escapism to be able to elevate himself.
100%.
And that is fantastic. I love that. Ali, a couple of things you're doing on this part of time. Also, you got some big things coming up. What have you got coming up?
So I have Empowering Minds, which is the first mental health and leadership event series. So that's sort of, it came about when I wanted to launch sort of something for the youth back in Canada, and that started out as Canada's online mental health COVID conference. And we got the Minister of Youth in Canada and a Member of Parliament. Here, I really wanted to impact businesses. I believe mental health seriously needs to be a conversation in every household, and there's no better way than starting it where everyone's at work, because not everyone's really interested in like, you know, the hashtag mental health stuff on social media, but everyone's at work. And if all leaders and all managers are well trained, then that is what will make the culture shift that I envision.
Amazing. And where can we follow you? Where can the people follow you on social media?
At Ally Salama. So at ALLY SALAMA.
You also have a podcast.
Yeah. You're on it tonight. What are you talking about? So it's called Empathy Always Wins.
Yeah.
That also stemmed from the fact that I believe all like the winning component of every single person in the world is being empathetic. Every leader needs to understand how to truly inspire and motivate, and I feel that authoritative leadership isn't really working that well, but being empathetic is the way to go. So the podcast is the world's mental health and leadership show, and I bring people like yourself that I really admire and respect to have a good conversation. Your episode's coming out today, 6 p.m., so I hope everyone stays tuned and gets a little bit of a backstory about how you started this this halftime show, because I feel like it really touched me, and I want to share that with the world.
Thank you very much. And you also have a magazine as well.
Yeah.
Empower Magazine. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me more. Like, look, all this stuff is amazing, man. Like, I said this to you off air as well, and I'm going to say it on air for the listeners to hear that. The things that you're doing and all that activity that you're doing, you know, takes a lot of strength mentally for you to do it, to produce it.
Yeah.
You know, what inspires you to do that?
I think it's just like how I sung here. I was very uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. I didn't know if I was going to hit my notes. I probably missed a few, and I did miss a few, but it's just about having the courage to fail and still knowing that it's okay, because I'll never be perfect, and I'm really okay with that. So I'm a very driven person. It's not bad to be driven. It's bad to have that burn you out, but knowing how to control that, I think that's sort of that's my DNA. But I think that the whole purpose of that is to really inspire people to care about mental well-being. And I think mental health is so much more than anxiety, depression, all those heavy things. It's about, I think when we see it for what it is, for the well-being aspect of it, to optimize your life, that's what mental health is for me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. You absolutely killed it. It was a great, it's a good time. We never even expected you to be actually singing on the show, and the fact that you did that.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
Are you serious?
You'll see me on the YouTube when the show comes out. I was smiling, I was nodding, and I was trying not to sing along so I wouldn't ruin your song.
Nicky Jam's a great guy.
But yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much
Thank you so much
for coming on. We have reached full time on the halftime show. Remember, you can catch our shows every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 3 to 4 UAE time. It was great to have Ally Salama on the show, and thank you for everyone who tuned in. He's there putting up my reset book in the background. He's promoting.
Promo.
He's promoting.
I need
me,
your signature on that.
I will. I definitely will do that now. Thank you so much, Ali, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Omar.
It was great, guys. Stay tuned more because we got Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah. And thank you very much for spending the hour with us. We will be back on Saturday. Have a blessed time, guys. Peace.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.